5:19 local time. Inside the Combat Information Center, the lighting fades on its own as the sonar display comes into sharper focus. No alarm sounds, no announcement follows. Only a subtle change in posture moves through the room, and everyone understands it instantly. A single contact appears below the thermal layer. It is clean, too clean. No biological clutter, no merchant traffic, no random cavitation. Just a steady acoustic return moving with purpose, holding depth, holding speed. The kind of contact that does not drift. The kind that knows exactly where it is. Above on the bridge, the sea looks peaceful. Blue water, clear horizon. Flight operations are not cancelled, only paused. The carrier holds course and speed, a 100,000-ton constant cutting through open water as though nothing has changed. But something has. In CIC, the sonar supervisor leans closer to the screen. He does not raise his voice. He does not need to. He calls the bearing, then the estimated depth. Another watchstander repeats it back. Every word is recorded. Every second is marked. The contact is below the thermal layer, using the ocean itself as cover. That fact alone narrows the possibilities. Passive sonar confirms the signature. Low frequency, disciplined, consistent. Not sprinting, not vanishing, just there. Close enough to matter, far enough to feel intentional. Condition 3 is set. It moves through the ship less like an order and more like muscle memory. Watertight integrity checked. Key stations manned. Systems remain cold. No sudden moves. No visible escalation. This is not panic. This is control. Then the contact changes depth slightly, just enough to test the picture. A gentle climb, then a return. A probe. The sonar team marks it immediately. That movement is not random. It is a question asked underwater. Are you listening? The answer is already flowing across multiple consoles in silent streams of data. On the surface, the escorts keep formation. Destroyers on the outer screen widen their spacing by a fraction, almost invisible to the untrained eye. To those who know what they are seeing, it is a curtain beginning to close. The carrier does not turn. Inside CIC, acoustic analysts begin comparing the contact's blade rate with stored libraries. The numbers align too neatly. This is not an aging diesel boat wandering through traffic. This is a modern attack submarine moving with confidence. Its speed remains steady. No evasive burst, no nervous change in sound discipline, and that detail matters most. A submarine that truly wants to vanish does not behave like this. This one wants to be noticed. Another depth change follows, sharper this time. The thermal layer bends the return, but not enough. The contact remains on the same relative bearing to the carrier's track. Not crossing, not dropping back. Shadowing. Closest point of approach is calculated, then calculated again. The numbers tighten. No one says the word out loud. No one has to. In U.S. Navy doctrine, intent is not declared by flags or radio calls. It is declared by geometry. And the geometry is becoming uncomfortable. The sonar supervisor requests a brief active ping window. The request moves up the chain in seconds, calm and procedural. Approval comes back just as quickly. One ping. The sound rolls into the deep, a controlled pulse cutting through the thermal layer. The return comes back clean and unmistakable. Steel answers. The contact does not run, it does not dive hard. It holds, then makes a small course correction. Another test. Another question. The analysts exchange glances. That correction reveals more than silence ever could. This is a boat with an experienced crew, confident in its position, confident in its exit routes, confident enough to challenge a carrier strike group directly. The bearing is called again. Lower now, closer. Up on the bridge, the captain stands still, hands resting lightly on the rail. He does not study the sea. He watches the repeater displays. When he speaks, his voice is calm and unhurried. Maintain course. Log everything. That is the order. No radio traffic is initiated. No warning is broadcast. There is no need. Whoever is below already knows they have been found. And whoever they are choosing to remain beneath the surface. The contact settles again under the thermal layer, reducing its acoustic profile just enough to blur, not disappear. A controlled fade, not an escape. In CIC, the plot remains firm. This is not ending, it is only beginning. The submarine stabilizes beneath the layer almost deliberately now. Not drifting, not hiding behind merchant noise. Just holding a parallel track, matching the carrier's movement with quiet precision. Inside CIC, the picture deepens. The submarine is no longer checking whether it can be detected. It already knows that answer. Now it is measuring reaction time, course stability, response geometry, the details that matter when two professional navies communicate without a single word. Then comes a small speed increase, brief, controlled, then back to baseline. A pulse. The sonar team catches it immediately. That burst is not about closing distance. It is about calibration. How quickly will they react? The answer comes without theatrics. The destroyers on the outer screen shift again, widening the net by another increment. No sharp turns, no dramatic angles, just quiet mathematics applied across miles of ocean. The carrier remains the anchor point, everything else adjusts around it. This is not defensive anxiety, this is doctrine. The submarine's next move says even more. Instead of crossing the carrier's wake, it slides laterally, holding constant bearing. The geometry is unmistakable. It is not trying to slip past unseen. It is placing itself in a position to watch, in a position to challenge. The acoustic signature sharpens as analysts refine the filters. Blade count, shaft harmonics, machinery cadence. The data aligns with known profiles. Match confidence rises steadily. This is a Russian attack submarine. The confirmation is logged, not announced. Nothing changes on the bridge. The ocean does not care about flags. It cares about physics. And physics says the submarine is now close enough to matter. The sonar supervisor calls another depth change. The boat climbs slightly, flirting with the upper edge of the thermal layer before sliding back down. An old trick meant to complicate tracking and force recalculations. It does not work. The contact stays solid on the display, now held by multiple sensors, not just one. Towed arrays from the screening ships are feeding into the shared picture. This is no longer one ship's problem. It is the strike group's picture. The submarine pauses its maneuvering and settles again. Speed constant, depth steady. That pause is deliberate. It says, we are here. We are not leaving. Closest point of approach is updated once more. The number tightens further, still within margins. Still outside the threshold that would trigger a more visible response, but close, too close for coincidence. On the bridge, the captain watches the numbers tick down. He does not order a course change. That would acknowledge pressure. Instead, he lets the geometry speak. The carrier continues forward, seemingly untouched. Then the submarine makes its boldest move yet. A short, active sonar emission. Brief, almost polite, but unmistakable. A tap on the glass from beneath the sea. The kind of ping no submarine sends unless it wants its presence known. For half a second, CIC goes still. Not from confusion, but from recognition. That sound cuts through ambiguity like a blade. This is no accident. This is a challenge. The response is immediate and controlled. No return ping, no mirrored aggression. Instead, the data is captured in full. Frequency, power level, timing. Everything the submarine has just revealed is logged and stored. In modern naval competition, information is leverage. And the submarine has just given some of it away. It slips back into passive posture, returning to silence. But the moment has changed the encounter. The veil is thinner now. Confidence has cost it something. The destroyers adjust once more, this time tightening their arcs by subtle degrees. Still no systems visibly readied, still no aircraft launched in haste. But the net is no longer theoretical. It is taking shape. The submarine alters course a few degrees off its previous track. Cautious now. Almost tentative. A reassessment. The CPA steadies. The strike group holds. This is the point where intention becomes clear. The submarine could disengage now. It could fade into deeper water and let the encounter end quietly. It does not. Instead, it keeps shadowing the carrier, staying just close enough to keep the tension alive. One analyst says it softly, almost to himself. They're not hunting, they're posturing. He is right. This is not about striking. Not yet. This is about presence. About signaling capability without crossing the line that would force a response no one wants. Above the water, nothing appears different. The horizon is flat. The sky is clear. Sailors move through their duties with practiced calm. Below the surface, two naval doctrines press silently against each other, and the distance between them is shrinking. Then the posture changes. Quietly, without ceremony, the decision moves across the watch floor in clipped phrases and nods. The submarine has remained long enough. Observation has become persistence. And persistence invites control. The order goes forward. Launch the helo. On the flight deck, the MH-60R Seahawk spins up, rotors slicing clean arcs through the air. No alarms, no rush. This is not a scramble. It is a planned transition from passive awareness to active control. As the helicopter lifts off, the carrier does not slow. The escorts do not break formation. The ocean remains indifferent. Only the geometry changes. Below, the submarine stays under the thermal layer. It does not accelerate away. It does not dive deeper. That choice matters. The Seahawk clears the deck and banks low toward the datum point calculated from converging sonar lines. Inside the aircraft, the crew works in practiced silence. Sonobuoy racks are armed. Frequencies are pre-selected. Patterns already laid out. This is not guesswork. This is choreography. The first sonobuoys hit the water, small parachutes collapsing as they settle into place. One by one, they begin to listen. The ocean fills with overlapping cones of sound, a net woven from mathematics and experience. The submarine reacts. Sharp course change, shallow dive, an attempt to slip between the gaps before the net can close. The sonar plots catch it instantly. The maneuver is clean, professional, and too late. More buoys enter the water. The thermal layer is no longer a shield. It is now a reference point. The submarine's acoustic signature sharpens as the environment around it fills with sensors. Every turn, every correction, every adjustment adds detail to the picture. On the destroyers forming the outer screen, towed arrays swing wide, feeding more data into the shared display. The strike group's awareness deepens, layer upon layer. The hunter is becoming the tracked. The submarine tries another calculated move, a brief acceleration, then a drop in speed. It is attempting to create ambiguity, to force a false track, to see whether the net will tear. It does not. The Seahawk circles at controlled altitude and spacing, never directly overhead. Pressure without provocation. Presence without escalation. Another sonobuoy pings. The return is crisp. In CIC, the contact is now marked with confidence, measured not in probability, but in certainty. Depth, speed, heading, all resolved. The submarine tries to regain the thermal layer, climbing just enough to blur its outline. It fails. The layer is saturated with sensors now. There is nowhere left inside it to hide. For the first time since the encounter began, the submarine's behavior changes in a fundamental way. It slows, not drifting, deliberately reducing speed. Analysts note the shift immediately. A boat that had been testing the boundary now appears to be calculating exits. Its confidence has not disappeared, but it has narrowed. The Seahawk receives updated vectors and adjusts its orbit. It is no longer searching, it is holding. Below, the submarine emits a brief burst of machinery noise, small but revealing, a correction made under pressure. Another detail added to the growing library. No systems are activated, no warning is issued. The message is delivered entirely through control of space. You are seen, you are tracked, you are boxed in. The submarine makes one more attempt to slip the net, angling toward deeper water and away from the carrier's projected path. The destroyers respond in kind, tightening their spacing just enough to remove that option without making it obvious. This is restraint sharpened into dominance. Minutes pass. The contact remains solid. Inside CIC, a quiet realization settles over the watch team. The encounter has crossed a threshold. What began as a challenge has turned into exposure. The submarine has shown too much. Its handling, its reactions, its preferred depths. It has given away information it cannot retrieve. Above the surface, sailors still see nothing but calm water. The carrier presses on, steady and unbending. Below, the submarine begins edging away, slowly at first, testing the limits. The net does not chase. It simply remains where it is, denying space by existing. The message is unmistakable. You may leave, but you will leave on our terms. And for the first time since it appeared beneath the thermal layer, the submarine begins to comply. It does not run. It hesitates. Beneath the surface, its speed falls by another fraction, barely noticeable, yet enough to register across the strike group's sensors. That pause is not mechanical. It is human. A crew reassessing the board, counting exits that are no longer there. In CIC, no one celebrates. No one speaks louder. This is not a moment for emotion. It is a moment for disciplined pressure. The Seahawk holds its orbit, steady and non-threatening. Sonobuoys remain active, their coverage overlapping with deliberate precision. The destroyers adjust by degrees, not miles, closing the space without openly announcing intent. The submarine attempts another depth change, shallow, controlled, probing for a weak seam in the net. It is tracked immediately. The thermal layer offers no relief anymore. It has been mapped, saturated, stripped of advantage. Every option is shrinking. For the first time, the submarine turns away from the carrier's projected path. Not a clean break, not a sprint. A careful divergence angled just enough to suggest withdrawal without fully admitting it. In naval terms, that distinction matters. The plot is updated. The bearing shift is logged. Closest point of approach begins to widen, slowly, reluctantly. Still close enough to feel, still close enough to remember. On the bridge, the captain watches the change in silence. He does not order pursuit. He has no reason to. The carrier remains the fixed reference point. The ocean rearranges around it. Below, the submarine makes one last effort to regain initiative. A brief increase in speed, a slight course correction, a final test to see whether the net will loosen. It does not. The Seahawk's sensors tighten the picture. Towed arrays remain firm. The strike group's awareness is now layered, redundant, complete. There is no single weak point to exploit. The acoustic signature shifts again, this time not as a tactic, but as a concession. Machinery noise settles into a quieter, more conservative profile. The hard edge is gone. This is no longer a challenge, it is damage control. Analysts recognize the change at once. The boat is prioritizing discretion over presence now. The posture has reversed. Where it once wanted to be noticed, it now wants to slip away unnoticed. That window has closed. The submarine turns further off, committing to a withdrawal vector leading out of the carrier's protective bubble. The move is measured, professional, unmistakable. It is disengaging. The strike group does not pursue. That choice is deliberate. Chasing would raise the temperature. Holding position asserts control without unnecessary escalation. That is doctrine, not hesitation. As the distance opens, the sonar picture begins to soften. Not disappear, just thin. The submarine's signature fades gradually, mile by mile, uncertainty returning to the ocean. But the important part is already over. Everything that mattered has been captured. Blade rates, reaction timing, preferred depths, course change behavior under pressure. A catalog of insight built in silence without a single shot being fired. In modern naval warfare, that is a decisive result. The Seahawk receives the order to widen its orbit, then begin recovery. Sonobuoys remain in the water, listening, confirming the withdrawal. The destroyers relax their arcs by small increments, reopening space without giving up control. The carrier never changes course. Below, the submarine continues outward, its path steady now, its intentions unmistakable. It does not look back, not because it cannot, but because it no longer needs to. The encounter is ending, not with explosions, not with warnings, but with a lesson delivered through geometry, patience, and restraint. Inside CIC, the final entries are logged: time of disengagement, last confirmed bearing, estimated exit corridor. The watch eases to a lower intensity, but focus remains sharp. Above deck, sailors feel none of it. The sea is still calm, the horizon unchanged. The carrier's wake stretches white and clean behind it, indifferent to what has just unfolded below. But beneath the surface, a boundary has been enforced, and someone has learned with perfect clarity what it means to challenge a carrier strike group and lose without a single shot being fired. The ocean returns to quiet. Not all at once and not completely, but gradually, as layers of sound fall away and the acoustic picture loosens its grip. The submarine's signature keeps thinning, stretched by distance and depth, until it becomes only one possibility among many. In CIC, the plot remains open. No one rushes to clear it. Withdrawal does not mean absence, it means patience. And patience at sea is how advantage is preserved. The sonobuoys continue listening. Each one reports back with less certainty than the last, confirming what geometry already suggests. The submarine is moving away along a clean exit corridor. No erratic movement, no sudden burst of speed, only a controlled retreat by a professional crew that understands when the board is no longer theirs. The Seahawk completes its final circuit and turns back toward the carrier. Its sensors are quiet now, recording rather than searching. The mission has shifted from containment to confirmation. On the destroyers, towed arrays are eased inward by fractions, long cables slicing silently through the water as the net relaxes without collapsing. This is how dominance ends an encounter, not by snapping shut, but by holding firm until pressure is no longer necessary. The carrier continues on exactly the same track it held from the moment the first contact appeared beneath the thermal layer. That detail matters. In naval operations, consistency is a signal of confidence. A course change would have implied reaction. There was none. Inside CIC, analysts begin the slower work that follows every quiet confrontation. Data is reviewed, timelines aligned, acoustic signatures checked again against existing libraries. What was once an abstract profile now has context: how it moves, how it reacts, how it behaves when boxed in. This kind of information rarely makes headlines. It shapes the future instead. The watch team notes the final fade. The contact slips beyond reliable detection range, absorbed back into the depth and noise of open water. The plot is annotated, not erased. The sea remembers even when the screen goes blank. Condition levels ease, not fully, just enough. On the bridge, the captain gives a single nod as the final confirmation arrives. No speech, no visible acknowledgement beyond the log entry. The strike group remains what it has always been, a moving system designed to control space, not announce it. Below decks, routine returns, maintenance resumes, watches rotate. The day continues. For most of the crew, nothing remarkable has happened. That, too, is part of the design. What unfolded beneath the surface was never meant to be felt by everyone. It was meant to be understood by only one audience, the one that tested the boundary. Somewhere below the thermal layer, now far from the carrier, another crew resets its own watches. Logs are written, assessments made, lessons absorbed without ceremony. They know what happened. They know how close they were allowed to come, and they know why they were allowed to leave. This was not restraint born from weakness, it was restraint chosen because it was enough. In modern naval conflict, success is not always measured by destruction. More often, it is measured by options denied, information gained, and intent clarified without forcing a larger crisis. The encounter ends with no wreckage, no public statements, no visible trace. But the balance has shifted. The carrier strike group moves on, its wake stretching long and white across the sea. Above the surface, the horizon remains empty. Below it, the ocean returns to its layered silence, carrying memory and secrecy in equal measure. And somewhere in that silence, one understanding remains. The challenge was recognized, the line held, and dominance was asserted, not through force but through control.